Activated, your window into an extraordinary world lived by many, yet celebrated by few. We showcase how to rally for persons with disabilities, taking you on a journey with valuable life lessons and intriguing personalities, leaving you ready for action. Activated takes us on a journey of taking lessons from persons with disabilities and how we must do things differently to unleash the contribution persons with disabilities can and must make to building a disability-inclusive Mzansi. In today's program, we discuss to disclose my disability or not. We visit Luigia Nicholas, sharing her intersectionality experiences between her impairments and studies. Our studio guest is Themba, and we tap into his extensive lived experiences as well as professional experiences in the HR space when it comes to disclosure. In closing, we meet Palesa Matlala, who sheds light on her psychosocial disability, employment-related trials and tribulations. Hello, and welcome to Activated with me, Helga Barkhuizen. In today's program, we unpack disclosure of a disability in the workplace. Dit is baie makliker vir mense om 'n fisiese gestremdheid te sien en te erken as 'n onsigbare een. En dikwels is die uitdaging om diegene met psigososiale gestremdhede en kroniese gesondheidstoestande wat onsigbaar is, gemaklik genoeg te maak om te openbaar of hulle gestremdheid het of nie. This episode examines the disclosure of disability in the workplace and learning institutions. The agony and ecstasy hidden in the word disclosure. Now, let's get activated. Businesses are required to support persons with impairments through reasonable work accommodation. This cannot, however, transpire should employees not disclose their impairments. Openbaarmaking kan slegs plaasvind waar werknemers veilig voel en dat na so 'n openbaring hulle dieselfde as enigiemand anders behandel sou word. Daarom moet instellings 'n inklusiewe omgewing skep voordat hulle ongeskiktheid werknemers en studente kan ondersteun. Our first story takes us down to Cape Town, where we meet with student disability activist and leader Luigia Nicholas, a postgraduate tax law candidate at Stellenbosch University and deputy chairperson of the National Disabilities Subcommittee. As the eldest of 3 children, Luigia felt the pressure of setting the example for her younger siblings, all while struggling with poor eyesight. Receiving 2 diagnoses at the tender age of 14, of which the first, S. Margus disease, in grade 8, Luigia opted to add power to injury so she could work around it, learning how to make life easier. After going to university, she began interacting with other differently abled students that gave her a sense of belonging. She soon realized she was not the only person struggling with issues of acceptance into a society that did not adapt to specialized needs.
We obviously know from personal experience that many students struggle to disclose when they come into university or even to disclose on their application that they have a disability or not. Why do you think this is the case, or why do you think students are reluctant to disclose?
It is difficult. Often students, when they're in high school and in primary school, often it's a culture of not really understanding. Again, when I was also in primary school and high school, it's often very difficult for people, especially at a younger age, to understand more about you and to actually put in an interest. I think that at university it's also quite a big leap. I mean, having a disability, it's really part of you. So, and it's a part of you that, as I said, not many people really understand. So I think it can be very difficult to express something that is so close to you, so personal to the world. And then also, then the anticipation of will people understand? Will people want to support me? I think that can be quite a significant challenge, and one that I personally have also experienced.
Another one of the pertinent issues is that people who have disabilities often face an internal weighing up of costs between wanting to feel as normal and included as possible and needing to be able to communicate where and what their needs are and when they need to be delivered. I don't want to be treated any differently in terms of social interaction, how capable I am of a person, of being someone's friend, of interacting in an inclusive sphere. And so I want to make myself seem as normal as possible, but I also need to communicate when I need what I need and how I need to get it. And so there's this internal battle in people who have disabilities, at least in my own experience, where I don't want it to be a barrier between me and whoever it may be, but I also need them to be cognizant of what is required and what is necessary for me to be able to do what I have to do. And I think oftentimes people who don't disclose tend to lean to the side of, oh, I just want to fit in, I want to be part, I don't want anyone to see me differently.
Okay, yeah, and I also think that when it comes to disclosure, some people actually don't have a choice but to disclose, like you guys said. For myself, for example, I have a visual disability or blindness, but I also have a guide dog. So wherever I go, I need to tell them I am coming with my guide dog. And yeah, that opens up the whole conversation of why do you have a guide dog, what is your condition, all of those things. So sometimes in certain spaces, we don't have the option but to disclose as well.
In society, I can live without disclosing it, but I will always be seen as different. Whereas, at least in my experience, when you do get to disclosing, then people actually seem to be very accepting. So it's so difficult to take that jump. That again, nobody has seen that I'm got a disability yet, but me being able to reveal that makes all the difference in my life, and that is also, I think, again, weighing up the odds is very difficult.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And I think the other issue with disclosure is that once you disclose, whether it be on your application or to someone, then they always feel the need to ask you personal details to go with it. And that is not the reason for disclosure. Disclosure is supposed to be there so that you can inform someone of your disability, but then the type of assistance you need, for example. But then people feel the need to ask personal questions that you're not comfortable asking. Has that ever happened to you as well, where someone just randomly asks you questions? Yeah, Keegan?
I've had that happen quite a lot, specifically with like the Ehlers-Danlos, the one why I have to have the cane and whatever, where people will just ask the most personal questions under the pretense of just wanting to be more educated. Like, there are some questions that you just should not ask a person you are speaking to for the first time.
You know, I understand that as well. I always get like a lot of questions from people randomly, and the first thing they'll ask me is, so what's wrong, or what eyesight condition you have, and I'll tell them that. The second question is always like, but you don't look blind, or you don't look like you have an eyesight condition, so why do you need the guide dog? Why do you need assistive tech and all of those things? And I'm like, you know, the other issue with disclosure is that people aren't educated with disability in general, and then they have this one box or one view of what disability looks like, and if you don't fit that box or that view, then they're like, no, you must be lying, or something doesn't add up and make sense to me.
Luigia from the disability unit is herself a disabled person, and that is why the disabled unit at Stellenbosch University is amazing. They're fantastic, because she is a person with a disability who is actively being employed in the role to help other disabled students. I think in universities at large in South Africa, where we may see a shortfall is where at the highest levels, disability is a minority group that is generally tended to be overlooked. And so maybe they don't have as efficient employment opportunities for those in the highest spaces from the top down, where you have people who are implementing decisions and making decisions, so that there's a disconnect between the people who are making our policies in the higher institutions and the people who are reliant on those policies, who are sitting at the bottom level with no representation up at the top.
Inclusion means going beyond the provision of equal access. Inclusion means acknowledging that differences and disabilities come with specific challenges. It also means facilitating impactful access that enables people to overcome those challenges posed by individual disabilities. After the break, we meet Themba, who was instrumental in building SA Employers for Disability, a forum formed by many JSE-listed companies to advance employment equity for persons with disabilities. We'll be right back. Themba has a visible disability, and as we know, persons with visible disabilities are often spotlighted and harassed to disclose, even though disclosure is purely voluntary. Welcome, Themba. It's great having you in studio. I understand that you are studying towards a PhD in inclusion for people with disabilities, visible versus invisible disabilities. How does the workplace react to it? What is the feedback from organizations? When should people disclose? Do I have a disability? Don't I have a disability? And when is it easy? When do people feel like they are comfortable to disclose?
Yeah, I find it more easy for persons with invisible disabilities. Invisible disabilities speak about issues related to mental health, like schizophrenia, and those people, they might find it difficult for them to declare their disabilities, whereas persons with visible disabilities it might be a little easier for them to declare their self-apparent disabilities because it's already obvious to majority of them, so it's easy for them to declare through the formal process of each company, and so that they be identified as persons with declared disabilities. With invisible disability, it become a matter of stigmatization because nobody knew or knows about your disability status. And then you now come out and then you want to declare. And one of the things that's most cited as a reason that could cause such a hesitant is a stigmatization and how people would perceive or treat you after you have declared your disability status. And whereas you are known as a person without a disability, and now you are a person with a disability and all that. With people with visible disabilities, because they have known that's obvious and it's easy for them to just declare the process. And I think it's also important to highlight that the declaration process is voluntary, and having visible or invisible disability doesn't guarantee or warrant you to declare the disability. I might have a physical visible disability, but still not comfortable to declare. It's my choice as an employee of an organization, and nobody can force me to declare. But it's recommended for any type of person with disability to declare that disability with their employer for different reasons. And it could also help so that you know what type of assistance or reasonable accommodation that you might require from your employer or your reporting structure. We'll make a practical example. As a person with using or typing using one hand, might need a one-handed keyboard to do or perform my responsibilities. And the other person with the same disability or similar disability might not need it.
So would you say that people would need to be informed of certain changes that need to happen in the workplace based on your specific form of disability that you have the moment that you're employed or the moment that you disclose? Because if someone doesn't have a visible disability, they might not be aware of it, and as such we want to make it comfortable for them. So what tips do you have for employers and employees moving forward with disclosures so that they might feel that they're going to have a better experience at the end of the day?
They need to create a trusting environment so people can feel confident to declare their disability. It's easier for an employee to declare a disability knowing that their disability status will jeopardize their career opportunities within the organization. And the environment has been sensitized through workshops or some form of training where all employees could be exposed to understanding how to engage effectively with persons with disability and how to support your colleagues or employees with disabilities. So once the environment is trusting and is amicable for one to declare that disability status, that makes it easier for them to declare. And as I think you say, start with it's a personal choice, and an individual should be comfortable to declare. No measures or things should be put in place to kind of coerce an individual to declare that disability status. But if the environment is that creating the atmosphere to be welcoming, you feel like you belong, it's easier for you to voluntarily declare, and people that can have access to such information could also depend or be determined by you as an employee who wants to have such knowledge about your disability status. But it's most of the times that information is confidentially and it has to be kept confidential and with limited access to, and can only be used for the reasons that have been declared to an employee. That has declared the disability. If the employee is comfortable to that, the communication could be communicated to their reporting structure. It can be done so. But if they are not comfortable, it can be kept within the certain respective individuals, like the lead for the diversity and inclusion, and that those people need to know how many people with disabilities and also which occupational level or roles they are occupying.
So to recap, you're saying that Whether people disclose or not, it is confidential information and it cannot be shared within their work environment or anywhere else. And so that even if it is a personal choice, they should go out there and they should just live their life. They shouldn't feel like they're going to be discriminated against, and that employers should at the end of the day do a little bit extra, like change management workshops, to make everyone else aware of someone that might have this type of disability without actually disclosing it. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. And I would recommend employers to have those regular diversity and disability-related workshops where they speak of but matters of different demographics like disability, GPQI and all that, so that those people who might be affected or who want to come out and to declare their disability status, they could do so, rather than to react on the situation where a person with disability could come as a form of unfair treatment because of their disability status. And then that's when an employer could come and say, okay, we're going to facilitate some disability sensation as a mean to address the issue that has been brought to their attention. Create an environment, let it be amicable and welcoming, and so that people they feel belonging to the environment.
I see it as an educational workshop. If people are educated, then they know how to react, but they also know how to help someone that has epilepsy and seizures, for instance. People might not know how to react to that, and if they have the workshops, then someone like that might be able to get the help they need.
Yes.
Themba, thank you so much for joining us in studio today. It's been a pleasure. Persone met gestremdhede is 'n aangewese groep in terme van regstellende aksiebeleide in Suid-Afrika en volg 'n beleid van selfidentifikasie. Dit beteken dat om toegang tot hierdie regstellende aksie en ongeskiktheidsvoordele te verkry, hulle hul waardedaling aan werkgewers, universiteite en boddokumente moet openbaar. After the break, we meet up with Palesa Matlala, a disability rights activist with an invisible disability. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Palesa is 'n gestremde regsaktivis met 'n onsigbare gestremdheid. Maar haar ervaring nadat sy haar gestremdheid aan haar werkgewer bekend gemaak het vir doeleindes van haar leerlingskap, het haar laat wankel. Sy is vasbeslote om afknouery en teistering wat volg na openbaarmaking aan te spreek. Further to Palesa's impairments having been made known to her employer, she was ridiculed, bullied and emotionally abused. She felt that the disclosure of her impairments was where the problem started. For had she not disclosed, the humiliation would not have been a factor and the employer would not have taken the stance that he was doing her a favor, thus treating her with discrimination.
Ke fetsa go thola gore ke na le epilepsy. For me, ne ke na stress as much because ke ile ka etsa my research. Ke ne ke na le a good doctor, and then I understood. So it makes me angry because now there's this stigma in latelang to say, ke Palesa o na le a disability, ke Palesa o na le epilepsy. Ntho e nngwe gape about this is that we do not define epilepsy as a disability. We say it's a pure medical condition. So if it is a medical condition, why was I then excluded from an opportunity ya gore e ke berekele a company ele, So for me, it makes me angry because this now will follow me wherever I go. And haki bua ka yona, it's like everyone watla kanako eo gore to say ke Palesa ole o nang le epilepsy, not just Palesa. Ka 2017 ke ile ka thola an opportunity to serve as an intern ko ePegisisa, and my mentor then, he really made nako ya ka there worthwhile. Wile ang accommodator, ha ke fetsa go mobolela about my diagnosis, and the environment ya teng is very friendly. My employers also, they reach out, they check on me constantly. Ba checka gore e ke right na ka dinako we gona le a peak ya mmereko, like there's a lot of work. They will check if I'm okay and if I am coping my workload. So the experience ekinang leona is quite different from the one I had with the other company. So this is truly a company, the companies they truly believe in universal accessibility, and they believe in inclusion as well. Advice enka ifang batho ba batjha ke gore you are not obligated gore o disclose your medical condition or your disability. Mara gape ke batla gore ba gopole gore disability ya bona, it does not define them. They are fully capable. I believe gore they can do it because Linna Ekimo now I'm working for the companies that are now accommodating me. So they should not allow a disability ya bona to define them. And gape iska ba etsa gore ba ska be ba chase behind the dreams that they have, because there are companies out there tse trying to make the employees etsa bona feel comfortable in the workplace. And I believe gore kaofela rona re na le a potential to contribute to the larger society. So they should not give up Modi dreaming etsa bona, and they should just thrive in becoming a better version of themselves. Nenka rata go advise batswadi ba nang le bana ba nang le disabilities to say ba supporte bana e ba bona and encourage them and ba ba rate. Mama didn't know anything about epilepsy, and one a qala go ba le ngwana who is epileptic. But she was there, she supported me, she encouraged me.
Disclosure of disability is voluntary, yet it does help when organizations say that we need an inclusive environment where employees feel they are valued, belong, and are protected from any form of harassment and bullying. This encourages disclosure. Bly veilig, tot volgende week, selfde plek, selfde tyd, only on SABC2, where you belong. Join, like, and share Activated on Facebook.